I'm James Holder. Welcome to Full Court Football 24. Quite privileged to be joined by one of our esteemed guests and one of our favourite characters we've had on the channel so far. None other than former Leyton Orient manager John Sitton. How are you, John? You all right?
All right, James. Yeah, not too bad, mate. Thank you. Yeah.
Good. I hope everything's all right where you are and everything that's been going on. I know it's been tough times, everyone, with the lockdowns and stuff.
Yeah, it's tough for everyone, isn't it? It's I just think like I can't help agreeing with the Home Secretary. I just think like too little was done too late, and it's affected everybody. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I've got very strong views on it, and you know, I'm angry because I could have been a statistic.
I'd like to speak a little bit today about your experiences of battling COVID yourself. I know following your social media and talking to you personally, you've had quite an ordeal with it all. Can we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, as long as you allow me to set the scene. I mean, I think the, you know, you get all these like, you know, bleeding heart, sort of pseudo-intellectual, tree-hugging, liberal left-wing fascists. You know, they're the first to cast aspersions about the country, the United Kingdom, the former Great Britain, British Empire, etc., etc. But I just think like we ain't really progressed in anywhere between 300 and 600 years. I think what's been done in terms of what one human being's doing to another, I think is absolutely nothing short of despicable. I think it's a disgrace, and I think the tiddlywinks. And then like anyone who wants to have a pop at me about like it being a fucking racist connotation because I'm using Cockney rhyming slang, they can go and fuck themselves because they ain't been through it. At the end of the day, I was like a gnat's pube away from death, and I was one of the doubters, to be honest with you. I just thought to myself, yeah, I fucked about on social media, called it kung flu and all that. I had the first one last March, which I think my missus brought home from the bank because I've been locked away. I've done as I've told government-wise. I've done as I've told profession-wise. I'm compartmentalised in the cab. My son's been working from home for 10 months, so we ain't come into contact with anybody. Do you know what I mean? And I've kept myself to myself. And when I had it last March, it was like double tap flu. So I thought, well, after about, say, like living a fairly normal life, between 8 and 10 days, I was over it. My boy, who's built like and as strong as a bull, he was over it within 3 days. But then this other one, I think it might be the second strain. Oh my God, I've never known anything like it. And I actually had a joke the other day. I said, if I had the strength, because I lost 2 stone 3 pound, no, 2 stone 5 pound, 33 pound in weight. I said, if I had the strength, I said, like any COVID deniers, I said, I'll take them and slap them around Wembley. Because it's probably, and I know I'm prone to be, I don't know, my kids like laugh and joke and say like you're like bipolar. I'm prone to extremes, put it that way. You know what I mean? And I've been known to overreact, but I'd say it's probably as close to death you could feel without actually being or feeling close to death for real with regards to, you know, God forbid another disease, which I don't want to name. When it got me, my missus worked up to the day before Christmas Eve, and then basically everyone was separated at Christmas. It's just me and her and my son, who still lives with us. We got through Christmas and we had all the FaceTime with the girls and all that. My grandson, my son-in-laws. She was chasing around Christmas Eve, like topping up on food, bits and pieces like that. By Boxing Day, we all started to go downhill, and I'm like, "Where's this come from?" And it's another thing that annoys me. She's been employed since she left school by a bank. Had a small break when she gave birth to her 3 children. We had 3 and 4 years. But she's worked for the same corporation for 40 years who profited in the billions down to laundering drug money. So you could probably work out who it is. Then got fined billions for laundering the aforesaid drug money. Then got threatened to be thrown out of the United States. In you know, not so many words. They basically said to her, if you don't like the working conditions, resign. Yeah, because obviously they're reluctant to give her any sort of redundancy. That's the thanks you get for 40 years service. The point being, they didn't even put someone on the door to check temperatures and whether everyone was wearing a mask. day before Christmas Eve, some old Doris, after closing our local branch where my missus could basically get out of bed and roll down the hill to work, and a load of other branches, she got relocated, and he got this, it's quite an affluent area, to be fair, near Winston Churchill's old house. Some old Doris or some Doris walks in, inconsiderate skank that she is, coughing and spluttering without a mask on. Well, if someone's on the door, they can stop that. And lo and behold, by Boxing Day, we was all going downhill. Then I lost 8 days of my life. I was basically in a coma in my own bedroom, and I kept getting shook by my son, who was fighting it as well, but he was determined to look after me and his mother. Then we were getting calls from my brother-in-law screaming down the phone, get up, get on the move. You've got to try and eat something, open a window, blah, blah, blah. This was after 10 days. I was shuffling to the bathroom on about day 9. Obviously, I don't know why, because without being too graphic, there's obviously no waste, no waste coming from my body, because I hadn't eaten or drink anything for 8, 9 days. Then my brother-in-law screaming down the phone, get on the move, because it's about blood oxygen levels, etc., etc. Basically, I was bedridden, James, for 12 days. Then I started to come out of it on the Saturday, approaching the fortnight after Boxing Day, which I think was on the Saturday. And you just think, well, where did that go? And I was like an horrible colour, like just like deathly grey. I'm quite dark skinned, like my missus. She's Greek Cypriot, so she's like olive skin. We all lost our colour. We was like deathly grey. And then slowly, my missus recovered slightly in front of us. My boy recovered. So she's been basically nursing me hand and foot hopefully back to full recovery. Yeah.
Everyone's had different experiences of it. I know you can only speak from your experience, but
that's right. Yeah, of course you can. Yeah.
What would you say to people that aren't accepting of the virus being as severe as you've had it? What would you say to them people that dismiss the severity of the situation?
Well, there's a couple of three things here, James. You can't really blame the people 100% altogether. I mean, and in saying that, if you did, I'm at an age really where there's a couple of, like I said, a couple of three things. One is I've been there, seen it. You think like when you're of a certain age, you're bulletproof. You think you're invincible. You think you can't be told, and you won't be told. So I've been there, seen it, done it. Got the undervest, the t-shirt, the tracksuit. By your peers or your superiors. What I will say is, you get a certain ilk, a certain kind of people, they just basically need something to kick against because they've got nothing else going on in their life. They're not great contributors to society. But in their defence ever so slightly, I would say like the government probably set a precedent because they were far too slow to act. When you look at it, I've been on about it on social media for a while now. Again, you could go off piece, you start going off at tangents and give a short-term history lesson. I think what's been done in terms of one human being to another, because this started in a lab in China with regards to the biggest communist now being the biggest capitalist, and then criticising the imperial West and being imperialist himself, wanting to dictate, run, and set the table for the rest of the world in terms of the economy. The bottom line is I think it's nothing short of despicable. But I tend to agree with the Home Secretary. Like I said before, when you look at the statistics, when you're something like it was articulated, I think 900 have died in total in Australia, and then you get idiots on social media. Australia and New Zealand, they just said that's it. No one in, no one out. Shutters are coming down. End of, until we get a grip of it, until we know what it is, till we know what's going on. And then you've got the morons over here in charge. Like I said the other night, controversial or not, I think it's the truth. I think it's a couple of things. I think it's been very, very poorly organised. The government are disorganised. I think they're reactionary. They're a little bit arrogant. They're definitely corrupt when you look at the tenders with regards to personal protection equipment. And I don't care if MI5, MI6, all the credit they get for certain things, GCHQ, they're 5 time zones behind their own arsehole. You can't worry about a pound note. You could, because like if there's no people left, who's going to generate a pound note? What they should have done is pulled the shutter. Someone said, well, they're Australia and New Zealand are self-contained islands. Well, what do you think we are? And you've got these morons trying to defend the government on fucking social media. It's been a disgrace. We've had over 100,000 deaths. Per capita, we're worse than America. Do you know what I mean? If you look at the billions, the millions, multi-millions that live in America, they've something like, I was reading a paper the other day saying like 400,000 deaths. I mean, it's despicable. It's absolutely despicable, the amount of deaths. And then you've got Boris, the Beano suckling pig where the black cab trade's concerned, and London's economy and his the way he conducted himself as mayor with all these bullshit initiatives, apologising. What good's that when you've lost a loved one? What good is that to anybody? You know what I mean? So, yeah, you're right. You can only speak personally, but I'm just very, very grateful, very thankful, and very lucky. Me and my wife and my son pulled through it. What I can't have the second thing is whereby we as a nation allow ourselves continuously to be hit over the head about our history. I mean, it seems to me that nothing's moved on. Like I said, between 150 and 600 years. You go back to the 1200s with the Crusades. You still got this, I don't know, West / Christian / Catholic rhetoric versus the Muslims. I mean, maybe I'm suffering from ideology. I just think like live and let live, as long as you don't tread on my toes. But people going on about, bashing up like the former Great Britain and the British Empire. You look at it. What's going on now is the same thing that went on with the Spanish and the Portuguese when they wiped out 3 civilizations in South America. What the settlers did to Native American Indians, tainting their camps and their equipment with smallpox, etc., etc. And everyone, like I said, I might have said it before in a previous interview, start with the Ottoman Empire, work your way west. At one time or another, everyone's been, an all-conquering or wannabe all-conquering imperialist nation.
Having had COVID-19 yourself, having dealt with the virus and everything that goes around with being sick, are you now pro-vaccination? Will you now be considering taking the vaccine yourself?
Well, hopefully I'll be next in line for the vaccine, because I'll tell you this, I swear someone was looking over me, if you believe in that kind of thing. And family rallied round. I had daughters backwards and forwards ferrying and like in-laws. My kid in the OB, her partner, they was bringing around food and fresh drink, and my daughters were doing shopping and bringing around food and fresh drink, blah blah blah. I'm looking at it, James, and I'm thinking to myself, really and truly, there, but for the grace of God, go I. And we were very, very lucky. I was lucky that, like, my brother-in-law bought a load of stuff around to try and boost my immune system. And I'll be honest with you, I was quite fit, quite boisterous, quite strong for a 61-year-old. Do you know what I mean? And all you can say is there, but for the grace of God, I'll tell you something, I don't want another dose of that. I've had fucking 2 doses already. The second one nearly killed me. And I'm not being, please don't think I'm trying to be melodramatic and extreme. I think the other key was, because of all the support that I had, it enabled me to stay out of hospital. And then we had advice with people ringing up from the NHS, track and trace, and the NHS, and with regards to sending around stuff for blood pressure and blood oxygen levels, etc., etc. And then it's a case of like, you've got to adjust your day to that, even if it knackers you. You've got to fight it. Long-winded answer to your question. Yeah, I mean, like, really and truly, I'll just think like everyone hopefully gets vaccinated, and in some way, shape or form, we can get back to normal, mate. We can get back to normal. You know, 2 ways about it. What's gone on is an absolute international disgrace. I think they should be thrown out of the WHO. I think they should be boycotted. I think there should be, what's the word I'm looking for? And I'm using it on Twitter all the time. Now it's gone out of my head. With regards to other countries boycotting them and not buying their produce or trading with them. But that won't happen. That won't happen. The people dying, as far as the government are concerned, scum that they are, it don't matter what ribbon it is. we're just fucking collateral damage. It's a numbers game, mate. So that won't happen. That won't happen. But even though it should do. But I'm livid because I could have been a statistic, and all I've done is been a straight goer and got on with life, and tried not to be a burden to society and contribute like everybody else, like mostly everybody else. But in terms of management and looking after its population, I think it's been a disgrace. They've been disorganised. They've been corrupt. They've been reactionary, and too little, too late. You know what I mean? It's
if you was in charge of the country, what would you have done?
That's the word I was looking for. Sanctions. What would I have done? Well, listen. This is a true story. Last March 2020, a woman got in the cab. I picked her up. She flagged me in Harley Street. She asked for Victoria Station, and then she said, "How are you getting on? So you had a good day?" Got talking. Nice of her, lovely, because it makes the day go a bit quicker, and your customers converse with you, or vice versa. Excuse me, I just got to sit up. I said, well, it is what it is. It's March. I said, it's a once Jewish-dominated professions. There's all these little slangs and sayings, and this is known as the kippah season. So I said, I'm a little bit, I've got an air of resignation about it for the first few months. Normally, it don't really kick on, and then it's like it goes ballistic for the social season from the Chelsea Flower Show onwards. So she said, well, get ready for trouble. She said, there's a stormer coming. So I said, well, what makes you, she's in, I'm in the medical profession, but she wasn't specific. Doctor, she didn't say whether she was a doctor, a professor, I don't know, epidemiologist, a virologist. She just said, like, there's an epidemic that's sweeping right across the world. She said, it's hit Europe big time. She said, and one of the hardest hit, she was proved right, was Italy. And she said, we're about 2 weeks behind Italy. Well, that's when, if people, like what I call the higher ups, in terms of people who are connected, government, Whitehall mandarins who set policy, medical profession, that's when they should, instead of worrying about their 7,000, is it 160 or 7,360 a day consultancy fees, motherless fucks that they are, they should have worried about the general population and gone, boom, the shutters are coming down, right? No one's coming in, no one's going out. But they didn't do that. And then, like I said, it was poorly organised, it was disorganised, it was reactionary, shambolic, another good word, because the geezer on Twitter, he said, here I am setting up for field hospital, as in, we all know, out by the XL. He said, normally I'm employed to set up field hospitals in third world countries. So I remarked, well, what does that make us? Which is what I've always said. It's like an ATM for the rest of the world. And it's a third world, like lawless banana republic when you look at it around. It ain't as bad as some, not as bad as others, but nowhere near as good as it could be, it should be, and it once upon a time it was. Listen, I remember when the biggest problem the government had was a couple of fucking firms in London who they sorted out, one of which can be traced right back to this day, with regards to the paedophilia rings, right? And the goings on, because they had both sides of the house in their pocket with regards to, and the things locked up in the National Archives until 2069, 100 years from when they actually got convicted. But basically, what I was going to say, James, is like you got the goings on with that, and maybe a few football firms having a ruck. Look at it now. You got they can't keep up with it. You've got, like, you know, kids killing each other over postcodes, wannabe drug dealers left, right and centre, gangs left, right and centre, anti-West rhetoric and homegrown terrorists in inverted commas, etc., 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 etc. So you've got to be careful what you wish for. When Thatcher had the purge in the 80s, giving people bird for having a punch up at a football match, well, look at the state of the country now. With regards to what you said about what would you do in government, this is the problem. This is a massive, massive, massive part of the problem. Someone put it so fantastic the other day, so eloquently the other day on social media. You've got people who come from a privileged background, they go to a privileged education, they go on to privileged further education, they go straight from that to an internship and then work their way up the ladder. They've never fucking had anything to do with reality or life. And this is part of the problem. There's absolutely, you look at the Muppet what's his name, this fucking Cummins going all over the gaff. It shows the contempt for the rules and regulations that they've got when they, even after they've set policy and a precedent's been set with regards to people dying of this the initial virus, never mind the second strain. But the bottom line is, the point I was going to make, there's no one who's been at the coalface. There's no one who's actually had, like me, who's had a life, had a real life, dealt in reality, had hardship, had to pay the bills, had a fucking row, had a to try and make their way in life, had to try and put a thing, really struggle to do this, that, and the next. You know what I mean? And there's no one real who's really been involved at the coalface who's got anything to do with advising whatever government, regardless the colour of the rosette. I mean, the bottom line is, since 1947, see, look, I'm going to make a few enemies in my second book, I would think, because a lot of what I'm telling you, I'm going to say in my second book. The bottom line is, since 1947, this country and its people have been slowly but surely betrayed and let down. And any self-respecting market trader, coffee shop vendor, black cab driver would embarrass any white or Mandarin or MP in negotiations. And all the backwards and forwards. I mean, just done Brexit, fucking 6 years ago, 5 years ago, we voted for it. It's justification of their make-believe existence. You know what I mean? Nothing. It's about, for me, it's about being decisive and getting things done. If it means making enemies, so be it. But you do what's right for the greater good, which is what I've done in a previous life.
How much do you reckon the toll of lockdown will have a ripple and an after effect on people?
Fucking multi-billions.
Businesses closing.
Listen, I don't have to rely on homegrown. You know, like me missus and whatever. I've got friends all over the place, and they can't wait. They can't wait to spill the beans. And I know there's one or two thinking of being a whistleblower if they could get the right deal from a newspaper. The government don't have to have a fucking shit shaver haircut, and it's sticky plaster. You know what I mean? There hasn't been any real, what you might call short-term, medium-term, long-term strategy, like you should do. Listen, you got your house, I've got my house. You've just told me what you've done with regards to one of your business. Your household, my household, everybody's household, it's a microcosm of the country. You've got money coming in. You've got money going out. You've got a budget for this. You've got a budget for that. You've got a budget for the other. You've got a budget for bills. You've got a budget for food. You've got to do, etc. So anyone's household is a microcosm of the country, right? The bottom line is this, right? I've had it on good authority that with regards to furloughs and bounce back loans, you had companies, little businesses, right? If you want to go to Australia, New Zealand, America, Europe, you've got to buy your way in. You've got to pay your way in. You've got to show that you've got a means of income. You've got to show that you've got money to live off. You've got to show that you've got somewhere to live that's rented long term, or you've bought freehold, right? You've got businesses over here that were 6 months ago declared on the brink of bankruptcy, and they received no more financial help from the banks. Then all of a sudden this virus hits, and then they're all applying left, right and centre for bounce back loans and furloughs, and the lump sums being given out. They were queuing around the block at one bank between 5 and 50 grand. And then you've got the bank managers and the area managers banging their head against a brick wall. And then all of a sudden the bosses, the over bosses, they come and say, it's all right. The government are guaranteeing it. So we've got a government guarantor giving them money. You won't fucking see that money again. So what you're going to do, you're going to be left with what we're always left with when you've got piss poor planning, poor strategy, reactionary, disorganised, backward, 5 time zones behind their own arsehole government, right? It's going to be the indigenous that are going to be left to pick up the pieces and pay the bill. And then on top of that, we're being made to struggle. Then you've got all the other peripheral stuff. A joint action by the LTDA and UTAG, United Trade Action Group, who I gave money to, and I've been an LTDA member since I was a butter boy, actually when I was still on a moped. They've done a thing with regards to winning back some road space in the city. Well, why should you have to? Mayor, narcissistic, arrogant scum that he is, along with TfL, who do these people think they are, closing roads and putting in place, in inverted commas, low traffic neighbourhoods? What's that about? Putting in planters across the road Forget black cabs, forget cars. You've got loads and loads of film, and you've got loads and loads of stills, which is what I've said for a decade now on social media, of ambulances and fire engines that can't get through the gap right, to save someone's life. I mean, what is going on in this country? What is going on in this city? What's going on in every city in the UK? I mean, it's nothing short of scandalous. It's despicable. It's ridiculous. It's nonsense. What's going on? Anyway, we reversed the thing in Bishopsgate, and now you've got like a collapse where you've had basically an illegal, prejudiced, anti-car, anti-black cab, anti-economic recovery ruling by local authorities, including with TfL and Khan, to close back roads. Well, how's that going to help? How's that going to help the economy? Because some Doris, some middle-class Doris who can work from home. And by the way, a little memo to yourself, right? If jobs can be held down whereby people can work from home, right? Then my way of thinking is they can be done from abroad for less wages, where it's more inexpensive to live. So be careful what you wish for, darling, when you're riding down the road and you've got your kid on their little bike and they go, look at the safety. And yet you can walk around the corner and get stabbed. Don't make no sense. One big fat nonsensical contradiction driving an illegal bunch of lies about the non-existent, nonsensical, mythical green issue in the United Kingdom. And not one of them trot out statistics. I could trot out the statistics, right? The United Kingdom is responsible for less than 1/5 of 1% of the world's emissions. Do you honestly think the emerging South American nations and the USA and the EU and China in particular, especially after this, right, give a monkeys, they give a fuck about emissions? They just want what's right for the thing. So this is like, to me, it's like neo-imperialism, trying to set a precedent and lead the rest of the world, right? Well, they're deluded. The government are deluded. It's about what's right for your own group of islands in the United Kingdom. The United Kingdom responsible for less than 1/5 of 1% of the world's emissions. Then you've got London responsible for 8% of the United Kingdom's total emissions. So I had a septic in the back of the cab. For those not in the know, right, Cockney rhyming slang, septic tank, yank, right? He's a mathematician. Wow, he says. He goes, you got all that information in your head? He said, yeah. He said, well, I'm a mathematician. He said, do you want to know what that is? I said, no. I said, I could work it out with a pen and a bit of paper. I said, but I can't be asked. It's a negligible amount. And he said, it's 0.004%. So I said, really? So why the hysteria in pushing this? And then you've got all this like peripheral. I mean, what it is, I'm going to be perfectly blunt with you, James. What it is, it's jobs for the unemployable. Things like the Green Party, things like, and then you've got like then you've got like Khan and TfL totally contradict it, right, by licensing an 86% rise in minicabs. You couldn't make it up, mate.